I am Randi Goodman, and I am here with the Toronto Women's Expo membership program, and I am super excited to have Mimi Thrasher here with me, who is educated in graphic design, and her work background is in finance. She had a program for leaders of teams for an international training and development company. By the time she completed in 2016, she was supporting other centers around the world and their programs. Her book, Success Without Stress, is an Amazon bestseller. She founded the Entrepreneurs in Action Academy to train and develop people in entrepreneurship, and partnered with myself to bring entrepreneurs together with the Toronto Women's Expo membership program. Mimi is a master organizer and time manager. Her gift is that if she can visualize it, she can make it happen. And her superpower is hearing what is the unsaid. As a former triathlete and master swimming coach, Mimi is passionate about championship results. Everything she does is to fulfill her purpose and peace on the planet. So thank you, Mimi, for being here with us today. And I can't wait to hear from you. You're going to be speaking to us about the top 10 rules for time management. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being here to have this conversation with me. One of the things I love about sharing the top 10 rules for time management is that when somebody who listens to this interview finds a golden nugget that they can put into their life, it gives them some inner peace. And when they have inner peace, their environment will have a little bit more outer peace. And I've affected peace on the planet that way. So I love doing this. And I love helping people with peace with time, because time is one of those places where people get overwhelmed, especially if you're an entrepreneur. So I'm going to share with you my top 10 rules. I'm going to start with sharing my screen and a quick PowerPoint here. Yay. From the beginning. There we go. All right, so this is all about how to get the most out of your time. And this system that I developed is not a priority-based system. It's actually a get everything done system. And there's lots of priority-based systems that are really great and really work. Mine just happens to be a get everything done system. I believe that doing laundry, your laundry, is just as important as sitting down with $1 million client. You have to get it all done. Otherwise, you have no clothes to wear to that meeting. So I've created this system. All right, so you went through my background already. The intention of this training is that you walk out of here with an access to fitting everything in. That's what I hope that you get. We're going to go over the top 10 rules for time management so that you too can live energy rich. So one thing I know about rules is that they provide a guideline, if you will, so that we can navigate the busyness of life. And a perfect example is a four-way intersection with cars. If we didn't have the rules of stopping at a stop sign, or if all those cars came to the stop sign at the same time, what that rule was, there would be absolute chaos. So rules, you know, a lot of people have negative feelings about rules. Rules actually create efficiency and proficiency for us. They provide a pathway to navigate the busyness of life and provide for peaceful, stress-free living instead of accidents. So rule number one is to make your agenda your new best friend. And when I say your agenda, I mean your calendar, your schedule, whatever that is. So when you have some good news, or even some not so good news, the first thing you want to do is tell your new best friend. You want to give them a call and say, hey, you'll never guess what, and tell them. So your agenda or your calendar would be that same person that as soon as you have something that you need to schedule, is that you let your schedule know, you put it in right away. And so rule number 2 is do not rely on your memory. How often do we say to yourself, oh, I'll do that later, or I'll put it in my calendar later, or something like that? Well, the truth is later never comes. And the best thing to do is to just put it in your calendar right away, and then you won't have to deal with all the laters that have built up during your day. Rule number 3 is to put everything in your calendar or your agenda. And why do I say everything? I say everything. Actually, I'm going to say it's everything. And there's only 2 things I don't put into my calendar. The first thing I don't put into my calendar is my sleep time, because I know I'm not going to schedule anything during sleep time. It's not like I'm going to have a client's call at 2 o'clock in the morning when I know that I'm sleeping. I'm not. So I'm just not going to put in my sleep time. I know approximately what time I'm going to sleep and what time I'm getting up the next day. I don't have to put my sleep time in. Some people like to put their sleep time. The other thing that I don't schedule are my bathroom breaks, because Mother Nature is going to call when Mother Nature is going to call. Everything else is in my calendar. Now, that doesn't mean to put every 5-minute thing into your calendar, because I create chunks of time. My chunks of time are no smaller than 15 minutes. So for example, if I have three calls that I have to make that are approximately 5 minutes each, I'll create an occasion in my calendar called return phone calls. And in the notes section, I will put the 3 people that I have to speak to. Another example might be housework. I'll put aside housework, I'll put a chunk of time, call it 2 hours. And that in that 2 hours, I may not get all my housework done, but I'm going to put what I am going to do, whether it's laundry or vacuuming or dusting or whatever that is. So chunk the time and put in the notes the things that you want to accomplish in that time. That's how to manage doing putting everything in your agenda. The other thing about putting everything in your agenda, I'm going to give a good example is if you go to work. If I know that many of us are working from home, but some of us still go to a place of business to do work. So you would have to include your travel time to and from work inside that. And you can put travel, work, travel. And why do I separate out the travel from the work? That's my preference, is because on your way to travel, you may need to stop for gas, in which case you could put a star next to that, to the word travel, and in the notes put get gas today. Or on your way home, you may want to stop at the grocery store, pick up the cleaning or some other errand on your way home, and you can put it in that travel section. So that's why I separate out my travel section from my things like go to work. All right, next one is create events that are long enough to fulfill what you need to do. So how many times do we say to ourselves, oh my God, I have to do X and I'm going to do it in an hour, but you know full well it's going to take you at least an hour and a half, but you are going to find a way to make it fit into an hour. And what happens is that you land up on this hamster wheel of rushing, and you rush through that thing, and sometimes you get it done, sometimes you don't, or you've cut some corners or whatever that is. But that hour that you just spent, you spent rushing. And life was not meant to be rushed. Life was meant to be lived. So if you create occasions that are realistically long enough for you to fulfill on what you need to do, you will start to have a more accomplished feeling life. Now, that's not to say that if something takes you realistically an hour and a half, that you can't aim to do it in an hour and 20 minutes. And when you get comfortable doing it in an hour and 20 minutes and reliable for doing it in an hour and 20 minutes, both quality, like from a quality perspective, then you can try again doing it in an hour and 10 minutes. But for all intents and purposes, start with what you are realistically able to do it in, the amount of time that you're able to do it in. And that would be our rule number 4. Rule number 5, put an alarm at 10 minutes before every single occasion or event starts. And why do I say 10 minutes before? In that 10 minutes, you're going to do 2 things. The first thing you're going to do is to, give me 2 seconds here. I'm going to grab a sip of water. I have a dry spot in my throat. Thank you. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to start closing up that thing that you're working on. You're going to finish that sentence. You're going to, whatever that is, you're just going to close it up, and then you're going to open up whatever you need, whether it's a new document on your computer, a book, a phone, whatever that is, fresh piece of paper, so that you are ready to go at the top of that hour with your next occasion. All right, and then the number 6 is do not ignore your alarms. Now, alarms is how your new best friend talks to you. Your alarms say to you, okay, it's time now to move on to the next thing. So another thing I want to say about alarms, I know that some of you are saying that's way too many alarms for me. And I get it, I do. But until you become reliable, and I'm going to suggest about an 8-week span or 2 months, right? I highly recommend that you put an alarm there on your occasions so that your new best friend can talk to you and let you know. They could like elbow you and nudge you and say, hey, you have to go on to the next thing, like hurry up, let's go, let's do that. And when you are reliable to look at your calendar and know what the time is and be able to switch on your own, then you can shut down on your alarms or use less or use a silent alarm. Number 7, I love this one. Well, I actually already told you this one. If the alarm goes off and you have not finished your task in the next 10 minutes, you can do one of the following. You can schedule another event that is long enough for you to finish the task, or you can reschedule the upcoming event. So if you know for sure that you can't finish in the next 10 minutes and you need to close up, this is also in that 10 minutes when you are going to open up your calendar and schedule now when you're going to finish it. Now, rescheduling, I'm going to talk about another concept in another rule, but one of the things you can do is you can take the event, the next thing that's coming up, and you can reschedule it, but you need to reschedule it at a time, preferably that's in the same day. So you're just juggling things around in your calendar for today, but you're doing it from a place of power, of knowing that you're still going to get things done. I think that's all I wanted to say about rescheduling the upcoming event. Okay, let's go to the next one. So this is one that people always want to know. Scheduling, number 8, scheduling 15 to 30 minutes of emergency time every day. Emergency, or I'll call it breakdown time. So we all have things that interrupt our day with things that we weren't anticipating. You can call it emergency time, breakdown time. Your mother calls you in the middle of your workday. Your kid, your child interrupts you for one reason, whether their school called them or they're sick or whatever that is. There's a million and one possibilities of what that is. My recommendation is to schedule 15 minutes of time, approximately mid-afternoon, and 15 minutes of time at the end of the day. And how you use that time is when you get to the, when somebody calls you, let's say your mother calls you in the middle of your workday and you're on the phone with her for 15 minutes, you can move that 15 minutes up in your calendar up to where you just had the call or to the end of that occasion, and then shift all the other occasions down so that you know that you have the space to speak to your mother in that time. Now, let's say you don't use your emergency time in a day. Well, guess what? You now have 30 minutes of time to do whatever the heck that you want to do. And that's the exciting thing. But having the time and being able to work with it really makes a difference in the day. All right, number 9, and I keep looking to the right because I have a monitor on my right that I'm accessing, but I'm still paying attention to everybody. So create a weekly event in your calendar of no less than 1 hour to do something for yourself to get away from it all. So that doesn't mean just 1 hour a week. That means no less than 1 hour a week. So I was working at one point in my life 70 hours a week, but I made sure that I spent 1 hour to get away from it all. And getting away from it all means that you're doing something completely for yourself and away from work. It could be, you might already be doing it. It could be working out. It could be doing a manicure, pedicure. But it's really a time when your brain is turning off from work. It's turning off from doing anything where you have an obligation. It's could be an hour of talking on the phone with a friend. It could be sitting in the bathtub for an hour and reading a book. It's whatever it is, it's for you to get away from it all. Now, and I don't mean just once a week. I mean no less than once a week. So you could be doing stuff all during the week. A meditation, many people meditate. That would be 1 hour of getting away from this plane of existence. So make sure you get that into your calendar. Now create a weekly event in your calendar of about an hour to review your agenda or a schedule for the upcoming week. So what you're looking for are things like, what are you doing next weekend? Am I going to a wedding? Do I need to get myself pantyhose? Do I have to get the wedding card? Do I have to look and see if my man has his tux? Do I need to, another good example with the change of seasons, do I have to get the oil changed? Do I have to fill the car with gas? Do I have to, when am I going groceries this week? The other thing is that if you're using an electronic calendar and you're using the repeat events, recurring events function, the further away you get from when you created that event, the more likely it is that it's overlapping with something. So this event gives you the opportunity to uncollapse those things that are overlapping. And I say here as about an hour, but the more you do it, the quicker you get at it. And I'll do this thing when I'm in the bathroom. I'll uncollapse my events when I'm on a Zoom, waiting for a Zoom to start, or when I'm out and standing in a grocery line. I'll whip out my phone and I'll start uncollapsing things in the following week. You can use your time however you want to do it, but that once a week thing will take you about an hour. And then I create a daily event for myself of 15 minutes to review the following day. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm making sure that all my events are uncollapsed. There's nothing that's overlapping. The other thing that I'm looking for is I'm getting present to whether I'm eating lunch out, or I'm brown bagging it, or I'm going to be at home, or do I have to get gas? Am I getting on the train? Like, do I need an umbrella today? Or am I, do I need a warm coat? Like, there's a whole variety of things to set yourself up for the following day. And again, this 15-minute thing can be looked at when you have time and space to do it. It doesn't have to be specifically at this time. It could be when you're standing in a line and waiting for something. You get really fast at it as time goes on. All right, so that was the top 10 rules. And I really acknowledge you for, I'm going to say, having the courage to take on your time management just by listening to this video. And if you would like to take on living energy rich and implementing these top 10 rules, reach out to me and ask me whatever questions you want, and I'm more than happy to connect with you. My email address is mimi@mimithrasher.com, and you can find me on Facebook as well. I'm always happy to help people with their time management and putting things into place in a way that's going to really support them. So don't be afraid to reach out. I love the questions.
Thank you so much, Mimi. So that really helps somebody get organized when it comes to, like, I know, like, for some people it's a no-brainer, right? They just do it, it's automatic. And for other people, it's like pulling their hair out, trying to figure out like how to be organized. So I think giving them a really good plan and all the details that you provided really help someone get themselves on paper, organized, make sure that they set up their alarms or whatever it is they need to do to remind them that they have something coming up, or, so they don't miss things. So they're not, right, letting a client down, or,
The most important thing to know is that life was not meant to be rushed. Life was meant to be lived. And if you're spending day after day after day rushing, then you're not living. And it's time for you to get teams in your life. You have to start delegating some of this is my tidbit, my golden nugget, is it's time for you to get support in some of those areas, either that you don't like to do or that you can delegate. And it could be you hire somebody on a part-time basis to do X, whatever X is, whether it's assisting you in your business or supporting you in your household. It doesn't really matter. But what matters is that you live your life.
Absolutely. So what would you say to people who like may be viewing this as structure? Well, it is structure, but maybe looking at it as more of something confining them to a structure, or putting things in place that they're not comfortable with. They feel like this is limiting. What would you say to people with that type of perception?
So I'm glad you asked me that question, because I work with some very creative, flowy people. And the rule, I'm going to put in quotations, about emergency time really comes into play for them. So you can create bigger pockets of time. So let's say you create, the creative person created 2 hours to write their music, as an example. And 2 hours came up and they are in the flow and they don't want to move it. Well, if they already have an emergency breakdown time of, call it an hour, because that's what they need for their kind of thing, they just continue on for another hour and they just juggle things around. It makes that emergency breakdown time makes things very fluid and very flowy. The thing to know, though, is that if you're moving something, you can't move it more than twice. So if you move something because you are in a creative mode, and then the next time you have an emergency, the third time, you're not allowed to move it anymore, because then you'll be moving it forever. And that's just the rule of moving.
The underlying rule of moving. Okay. So if they stick to that rule in their head, then they won't actually leave it alone. They'll get it done, but they won't keep delaying it, right?
Yeah, and these rules are all customizable to any personality. I've worked with a lot of different people, and that's why I say reach out to me, throw me your best questions, and I promise you I will support you through all this. I'm going to tell a short story. I worked with somebody who was had a very female energy, very flowy, very by the seat of her pants, and she said, you know, I wish I could take a vacation. And I turned to her and I said, schedule it, put it in your calendar right now. And she thought I was nuts. She put the vacation in her calendar, which happened to occur 3 months from when we were talking. And when she got back, she said, oh my God, Mimi, I had the best vacation ever, and I would never have taken it if I didn't schedule it. So
it's so true.
yeah, so she scheduled it, and what was great about that is when she scheduled it, I then worked with her to do everything that she needed to do before the vacation, so that when she got back from the vacation, things were not a mess. Right. So, which is the beautiful thing about scheduling a vacation, as opposed to just, oh, I'm going on a vacation now.
Right. Well, I the reason that I asked the question is because I am one of those personalities who cannot stand being confined to something. But, you can see the color coding on my phone. They all mean something, right? Whether it's purple or blue or gray or red or green or whatever, they all have a meaning. Things that I need to do. So some of them are set appointments, right? That can't change, or you'll only change if it's an emergency or you have to, right? Then you've got other things that need to be done, might not be so important that they have to be done this second. And then of course there's stuff that absolutely needs to be done today. So for me, I use the color coding because then it stands out for me. And then the things that are not that important, they didn't have to get done today. If they don't get done today, I can push them till tomorrow. But and like you said, time for yourself. If I want to go for a walk, I stick it in there. I color code it and I stick it in there. And that's what I'm doing for that hour or 2 hours or whatever. I don't care how long it is, as long as I don't have an appointment, right? I can extend that, but I plug it in there so that at least I know I'm blocking this off. Nobody else can block something, schedule something in that period of time. And, that's mine kind of thing. So, and then of course there's things, that you just don't put in your calendar and just happen because what you were talking about was sleep. You don't schedule sleep. You just sleep, right? But from say 11 or 12 at night, or whenever you go to bed, maybe you go to bed at 8 o'clock, whatever the time is, you just don't schedule stuff then, right? You just leave it blank. So, same thing, but at least I know that time is free, so that if something does come up, I can always, throw it in there, whether it's me time or whatever. And then in regards to your vacation stuff, absolutely, like, you have to be really conscious of making sure that you are taking time not only for yourself, but to spend with your friends, your family, of course, when we're allowed, it's lockdown right now, but, and time for those vacations or getaway times or whatnot. You got to block them off on your schedule in order to make them happen. Or just like that person you were talking about, it's never going to happen if they don't do it, right?
And the thing that I love about scheduling things also is I work on a variety of different projects. I have clients I work on, I have a conference I work on, I have you know, a whole bunch of different things. And if I don't put things in my calendar, I don't know if things are moving forward every day.
Right.
I have, you know, my conferences on one day, or I have to meet with a client on another day and I have to prepare for it. But if I don't put things in advance, oh, I have to work an hour on this before this meeting, or before I have to set up for this recording, or I have to do this. The idea of the calendar is to support you in making sure you're getting what you need done so that you meet your end goal, whatever the end goal is. And time actually is a man-made thing, and it's one of the most fantastic man-made tools ever invented. Next, you know, right up there with inventing the wheel. And yes.
And sliced bread.
Yeah, it's like time has been, so we use the sun, but there's a calendar that uses the moon, you know, so there's different calendars, and it's based on the cycles of nature. Time is based on the cycles of nature, but it's actually a man-made thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so what would be like, do you have any strong tip or suggestion for people that they should do right now if maybe they are not already managing their time?
Yes. The best way to start is to put aside some time every day to put everything in your calendar with recurring events. And I know not everybody does this, but I highly recommend, an electronic device, because putting in recurring events becomes very easy that way, and you can do the alarm thing.
Yeah.
But spend, 15 minutes to a half an hour every day. And I'm saying every day at this point, but it's not every day. Always is in putting in your occasions going forward for the next little while. If you have a written agenda, you want to do at least 2 to 4 weeks out, and then continue and keep having it 2 to 4 weeks out, 2 to 4 weeks out, so that you're clear on what you have to accomplish.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question for you, was what about old school people who want to keep an actual book, not have it in an electronic device? How can they remind themselves? Like, how can they set up some kind of notification? I mean, everybody and his brother has a phone, right?
Yeah.
So chances are they have a phone. But if they don't want to keep it in their calendar, they might have a physical calendar,
Right.
a book that they like to use. How can they, obviously the book isn't go a boing at the time, right? So
Right, it's not, but everybody on their first cousin has a phone, so they can still set an alarm on their phone at 10 minutes to every hour, or when the next occasion starts. They can use their phone. I have a clock sitting across my thing. I have my phone goes off, my alarm goes off, and I go, what was I supposed to be doing? I don't remember, and I have to look at my phone. I have one alarm which is for nothing, but other than to tell me the time, and it goes off at 11:55 every morning. And I know my morning is almost over, and I'm going into afternoon mode.
That's actually a good idea. I'll share one of the things that I do, and of course I don't always remember to do it, but in the morning when I'm sitting down to start working, I'll open up my calendar and I'll see, what do I have today? Okay, I have something at 9, I have something at 10:30, I have something at whenever, and then I go in and I set my alarms for, like, depending what it is. It could be 2 minutes earlier or 5 minutes earlier. If
Right.
it's a Zoom, it's usually 5 minutes to give me time to, if I forgot to open the computer, because I use a different computer when I open Zoom, maybe I forgot to put it in front of me and open it up, gives me 5 minutes to get it open and
Yeah.
going. And I set my times to remind me to go and look either at my calendar, or I put a note in the alarm program, right, on each one, and set it up so that I don't forget something. But if something gets added that day, I have to remember to go into the alarm to add that meeting so that I don't forget it, because chances are I'm not going to look at my calendar that day. you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are a variety of different ways to do it, and that's a fantastic way. I look at my calendar every morning to see what I have, and every night right before I go to sleep, because I want to make sure I'm adequately prepared and I'm getting up at the right time. Because your day doesn't start the minute you wake up.
Right.
Your day actually starts when you go to sleep.
Right.
So you have to make sure you have enough sleep to get up the following day. That's when your day actually starts.
Good advice. That's good advice. When I remember to, I do look the night before, but I don't always remember to. So yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Mimi, so much for the wonderful presentation. So tell us again, how can people reach out to you? How can they find you?
People can reach me on Facebook. My name on Facebook is Mimi Huberman Thrasher. That's the best way. Obviously, if you're in the membership program, you'll find me on the Facebook pages for the Toronto Women's Expo. Thanks for ducking your head. Both in the public page and the private page. But if you want to email me, you can email me at mimi@mimithrasher.com. And my name's on my picture, so that's the spelling. mimi@mimithrasher.com. And I'm more than happy to ask questions, or if anybody wants to find out about implementing the top 10 rules. It sounds very easy. It does sound very easy, but there is an implementation process that takes about 8 weeks, and I'm happy to support people with that.
So just tell us one last thing before you go. You also help clients. Can you tell us a little bit about how you help clients and what kind of clients you'd be looking for?
Yeah, so I have a whole host of skills. I call myself a jack of all trades and a master of many. I do a lot of different things, from bookkeeping to web design to a leadership development, coaching and training. And what I really love to do is to help entrepreneurs duplicate themselves. So when they get to that point where they're overwhelmed and they have too many projects and they just wish, oh my God, I wish I could duplicate myself, I'm their person. I will learn how an entrepreneur thinks and likes to do things, and then I'll work with them to up-level their business, like really bring it to another level. And I'll say things like, have you read this book? Have you seen this YouTube video? Or have you thought about this? Or one of the things I learned is that. And then because I'm good at administrative type work, I will do the executive assistant or VA type work to execute on whatever concept or ideas that we have come up with to up-level the business.
Okay, that's beautiful. And are you accepting clients right now?
I am accepting clients right now. I have space actually at this particular point for one more client. And when I say one more, I work with entrepreneurs on a part-time basis. So this is not like hire me for full-time kind of thing. So you get just enough help to implement the processes and the things that you need to do.
I love that. Okay, please reach out to Mimi. And that was mimi@mimithrasher.com.
It is. And my website for that is actually successwithoutstressnow.com. So it's www.successwithoutstressnow.com. And you'll see more about what that whole world is.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us today about time management, Mimi. That was a fabulous training, and I look forward to learning more from you in the future, because I know you are a wealth of information. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Randi.